All right, let's go ahead and get it started, man. If you're in the chat, make sure to let me know. All right. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast. For today's episode, episode 155, we're going to be discussing 10 or not 10, 5 mindsets that I would recommend that you go ahead and develop and have. Some of these are going to be stemming more on like the ideas or like certain concepts that you must consume within your mind that'll put you in a favorable position. So, like I said, that's going to be the topic for today's episode. A few things I want to mention before I go to get it started. Make sure you go ahead and follow me on TikTok, just Life of a Champ podcast on TikTok. All is it over here? Yeah, everything right over here. Twitch, YouTube, Rumble, and TikTok, just Life of a Champ podcast. Tap in with that for sure. Other than that, also make sure you go ahead and leave a like on my YouTube shorts as well as my YouTube clips. If you can't catch a full podcast or for whatever reason don't want to watch one live, that is going to be your best bet. You're still going to be getting the game that I'll be spitting, and also you're going to be getting it in shorter form. So for the clips, it'll just be about 4 to 12-minute long videos typically, and then for the shorts, obviously 60 seconds. So if you got a short attention span, that's going to be your best bet right there. Other than that, what else I want to say before I go and get started? Yeah, so like I said, these are just going to be concepts that I've either thought about recently, it's either came across my path of inputs, as well as potentially it's something that I had came up with myself. So these are just ideas that I had within my own mind. So I will be discussing that. But like I said, hopefully you can take something from this at the very least. If you can adopt a new paradigm, you're going to be in a good position for sure. So the first one is going to be a three part analysis about your life, right? And this should give you um, great motivation and discipline in the moments in where you need that specifically, and I'll explain how I'm going to personally apply that within my own life. So this is going to be, what do you do, what do you want to do, and who are you doing it for, right? So obviously the first two questions are going to be a little bit easier to answer, and hopefully that third, if you are locked in, the third one should definitely be something that there's stuff that's going to be immediately popping in your mind. But like I said, what do you do, right? When I say what do you do, this is going to stem within your purpose. This is going to be your work, your career. This is going to be your passions. What do you do, right? And then more importantly, the next question is, what do you want to do? So if you're not already doing what you want to do, you need to go ahead and do that. Obviously, you need to evaluate that for your own life, figure out a way in which you want to implement that specific thing. But more importantly, like I said, what do you do? What do you want to do, right? And who are you doing it for? And the more vivid you can the more vivid you are with the answers to these questions, the better you're going to be within your positioning, within your life's positioning, right? Regardless of where you are, whether you're 40, whether you're 20, whether you're 12, right? Regardless of what it is, they're going to be in a good position because you're going to be able to evaluate certain things. And of course, obviously, if you're younger, you're not going to be as thorough with the vividness of this. But nonetheless, I think these things are very, very important to ask yourself. And like I said, I'll go ahead and give you some of the insight of how I got this. I personally got this concept from a few YouTubers that I watch all the time, and yeah, it's just one of those things. And I've recently made a podcast about a similar topic, but nonetheless, it was definitely a topic that I thought was fairly interesting. Something that I feel like can get people motivated, can get people emotionally invested within what they're doing, and if especially if they're not doing enough. And I feel like probably most people would resonate with that last part, right? With not doing enough, right? We always could be doing more. We always have more time left in the day. We can always be more productive. And with that being said, I'm gonna ask you the questions one more time, right? What do you do? What do you want to do? Because that can sometimes differentiate from what you're actually doing, right? You must figure those two specific questions. You must figure those things out, and hopefully they work synergistically, right? And then also the last question: who are you doing it for, right? So when I think about this, there's going to be certain moments where you're not going to be as motivated or as self-disciplined with the things that you know you need to do. So like I want to say a few podcasts ago, I came up with this topic that I thought was very, very interesting, because it allows you to reflect on why you're doing the specific things that you are doing, right? It gives you that reminder. So for example, let's just say you had a kid, right? You're doing it for the kid. You're doing it for the future children that you will have, right? Those certain ideas hopefully can give you a certain level of motivation, a certain level of tapped in self discipline that will allow you to move past your current emotional state right? So for like I said, for me, for example, who am I doing it for? I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it for my friends. I want my friends to be able to see a paradigm that they've never seen before. I want my family to see a level of success that they've never seen before, right? And the only way to do that is if I'm consistently doing the things that I know I need to do, right? And like I had mentioned, I'm a victim of this probably just like everybody else, right? But there's going to be certain moments where I feel like doing less, right? And in those moments, you must, you must think bigger than your own self situation, right? Your own, your own situation that you're currently placed in. You must think bigger than this because like I said, life is going to be much broader than than your current present moment, right? And with that being said, who are you doing it for? If you're not doing as much as you know you need to do, evaluate, think about this for yourself. Who are you doing it for? Like I said, maybe you're doing it for your wife, maybe you're doing it for your girlfriend, maybe you're doing it for the girl that you don't have yet, right? Ask yourself that question because like I said, those should be able to get you up and moving if you need to be up if you need to get up and moving, right? Um, like I said, for me, for example, right? I have my girl, so I'm doing it. I'm doing it for her. I'm doing it for our future. I'm doing it for the future children that we will have, right? I'm doing it for like I said, my friends, my family. I'm doing it so they can see, like I said, a level of success that they've never seen before. See a lifestyle that was only shown to them, not exactly something that they feel like they were a part of, right? There's certain things like that that you need to be very, very clear on, and the more clear you are with that, the better position you're going to be within your entire life and for the rest of your existence, right? And I think that's very, very important. So for you, for example, if you're watching this right now, let me know in the comments whether you're watching this or watching this live. Who do you do it for? What do you know you need to do, and who do you do it for? More importantly, because these things need to be thought out. Like I said, it's so much easier to focus on your own situation that you're in and saying, you know what, I can slack off, I can skip a day, I can do it tomorrow. Like I said, all these sayings are nothing but cope, of course, right? And with that being said, if you're able to move past these certain things and to evaluate, okay, well, I'm doing this for the future, the future of, let's just, like I said, I like using this example, the future wife that I will have, right? That should be a huge motivator because hopefully you should strive to want a wife. And two, you must understand that in order to, attain anything that's worth having in this life, you're going to need to make sacrifices. You're going to need to put the work in. You're going to need to put in the victories that no one will see, right? And with that being said, who are you doing it for, right? Ask yourself that question. And the way that I wanted to go ahead and implement this within my own life is when I'm um, creating my daily schedule, my daily routine that I go ahead and that I think about, that I write down. Of course, when it comes to my work, I'm gonna say I'm working for this. I'm working for this person. I'm working for this opportunity. I'm working for this specific thing. So it allows you to not only be reminded of what you need to do in your day, but more importantly, why you're doing what you're doing, right? And that should give you a focus for the rest of the day. So let's just say, for example, this upcoming week, this is the way that I've implemented, right? Let's just say for this upcoming week, right? You need to do a consistent amount of the same work, right? This is typically would be my own schedule, right? And here's the thing: I'm not always super motivated to do certain things. I'm always motivated to do the podcast. I'm never really motivated to edit videos. If I'm being honest with you, that's not one of my my purpose is not to edit videos, right? That's just what it is. My purpose is to create, to inspire, empower, and educate the ones around me and of my influence. And with that being said, when I'm doing it, there's no distraction, but there's gonna be the little things that still need to be done, that still need to get done, that maybe I'm not as motivated to go ahead and do. And with that being said, when it comes to those certain situations, which like I said, everybody's gonna be different for their own certain situation, but for me personally, when it comes to those certain moments of resistance, right, that barrier of resistance that's going to allow me to eventually achieve my goals, but quite frankly, I kind of don't want to do it. The way that I want to go ahead and frame it is, okay, well, I don't want to do this, but it's not always about how I feel. Who am I doing it for? Let's just say this. I'm doing it from. Let's just say this, right? When you evaluate it, right, you're like, okay, well, today's work, I'm gonna dedicate my day's work to my grandma, right? I'm gonna dedicate my day's work to my mother, to my sister, right? To my father, whatever it is for your personal situation. Dedicate certain tasks that you don't exactly feel as motivated with doing with a certain person, so you know exactly what you're working for. You know exactly who you're striving to be. Like I mentioned, right? What do you want to do? No, yeah, what do you do? What do you want to do? And who are you doing it for? The more clear you can be with all these things, the better, like I said, the better life position you're going to have for sure. And that's gonna be for all the dogs. Exactly, Andrew. Come on now, you already know what time it is, man. But like I said, if you have a kid, right, this is gonna be one of the situations where I feel like it should it should it should get you to move into action, especially if you're thinking about children as well, because these are the people. These are the people that you create. These are the people that are going to be they're going to go as far as you go within this life, right? These are the people that you need to go ahead and lead, right? And with that being said, maybe you don't want to do your work today, but you say, you know what, I'm doing it for my son. I'm doing it for my future son. I'm doing it for my daughter, right? These certain things are going to be these certain mindsets that you're going to have instilled within your mind is going to put you in a better position because even when you fall down, you're not even down for that long, right? And I feel like that's very, very important because here's the thing: it's not if you get knocked down; it's when you get knocked down within this life. And when you get knocked down in this life, you're going to need something that's going to help you get motivated, get more self discipline because there's going to be moments where you do fall off, right? Of course, we can all strive to have permanent self discipline, but quite frankly, that's not the reality for most people. And with that being said, in order to get back on the horse as you should, to do the things that you know you need to do, one way to go ahead and do that is to have the correct focuses, have the right inputs, of course, but nonetheless, understanding your why for doing it, right? If you're able to understand the why for what you're doing, you're less easily to get knocked off of the task that you know you need to go ahead and do. You're going to be more motivated to want to go ahead and do it. You're eventually going to be more self disciplined with the actions that you go ahead and take because you know what's at stake. You know who you're doing it for. You know your why, right? Give me a second. I use the Danco Power Planner do get in check to get in check with my tasks every day, and also has a goal setting page where you can use for long term or short term goal planning. I would recommend checking it out. Not staying stuck, and to be more disciplined and locked. You're exactly right, KJ. That is going to be one of the most. He's recently. I'll get into this for a quick minute, but Dan Coe is definitely one of the best YouTubers within my own space that I admire. That I truly will eventually have on the podcast, and I would say is someone that I look up to. For right now, I do believe that my brand will be bigger than his brand for sure. Even though he's doing wonderful, he's about to come out with this book, and I'm gonna get the book, but my brand's gonna be bigger than his brand. I'll say this, and you guys can take it for what it is. But there's a lot of creators that I understand that they have a great message, of course, but they don't know how to do it in like a cool way, with like implementing their personality within it. They implement their interests, but they don't implement their personality into it. Right? This is where I have the edge. But Dan Coe, great creator. I'll go ahead and look into those, KJ. If you could send me the link to those, I would be more than appreciative of that for sure. But nonetheless, why are you doing what you're doing? Figure that out. And who are you doing it for? Maybe you're doing it for your grandparents. Maybe you understand. This is something that I understand very thoroughly, and something that I mentioned within my Emotional Motivators podcast is my grandparents are not going to be around forever, right? That is just the reality of life. That is the unfortunate reality that does exist. And with that being said, if I'm not putting in the work that I know I need to put in, I'm not going to be able. I could potentially not be able to show them the life that I wanted to go ahead and show them that I'm going to reap, right? And that should mess with you. That should get you up and moving because that would be really, really sad, right? That'd be devastating to some, right? And with that being said, if you know what to focus on, you know who you're doing it for, and you can remind yourself before you do the daily task saying, you know what, I'm going to do this. I don't feel like doing it, but I know who I'm doing it for, and I don't want to let this person down. If you have that mindset just to start your day, or before you continue a task, or to get you through a task, or when you're looking back and you're like, you know what, I did that task. I remember who I did it for as well, right? That gives you a different focus because now the focus is not placed on what you need to do, right? The focus is placed on the person you're doing it for. You're transferring that energy to something that you deem to be more important than your day's work, right? That's pretty much what I have to say for that, right? I got four more mindsets. So like I said, if you have any questions, or maybe you have a mindset that you want the people to go ahead and know, make sure to go ahead and leave in the comments for sure. Give me one second. I'm checking the Twitch chat as well. So if you're on Twitch, make sure to let me know. But getting into it, this is going to be another mindset that I've had and adopted and implemented for a good amount of time now. I've gotten away from it a little bit, but nonetheless, it is going to be one of these things that I do believe is when I'm functioning at my highest frequency. This is going to be one of the things that I just naturally just do, and don't even think about. This is going to be having this phrase around and repeating this phrase, because this phrase is definitely very, very powerful, I would say. This is going to be, let's just say somebody asks you, you're making small talk with somebody. Hey champ, how are you doing? Life is amazing and it's only getting better, right? If you start the conversation with that, it immediately says so many things about your character. It immediately says so much about who you are within that moment, right? The emotions that you're feeling within the moment. So yes, this is going to be another mindset that I would recommend for you to go ahead and adopt. Like I said, maybe it's some dialogue that you go ahead and adopt as well. But life is amazing and it's only getting better, regardless of what situation that you're currently in. If you truly believe this, life will show you time and time again how amazing it truly is. Because a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of people watching this that might not be in the best headspace possible, but just know that there's going to be better days ahead of you. They inevitably will be ahead of you, right? We inevitably have the best days and the worst days ahead of us. That's just what it is, right? Some of us have already lived through the worst days, right? Or what it feels like to be the worst days. But nonetheless, life is amazing because, quite frankly, without the human existence and without the human experience, you wouldn't even have experienced that bad thing, or what could be perceived as a bad thing. But nonetheless, life is amazing, and it's only getting better from here, right? That's the way that I personally look at life, and it's definitely not it's definitely treated me right ever since I started adopting that mindset. Because truly, there's going to be, like I said, there's going to be moments where life is you wouldn't know what to do with yourself if you weren't living within that moment, right? Um, and especially if you're accomplishing your goals, and you're setting out enjoyable experiences out for yourself, and you're doing the things that you need to do within this life should feel amazing, right? And if you're watching this and life doesn't feel amazing, it's because you're not doing enough. And yeah, I would say that's just as simple as that. You're not doing enough. um because if you were doing enough, life would feel amazing. Life should feel amazing. It should be one of these things that you do embrace, because quite frankly, not everybody is still alive. So yeah, that's something that you should go ahead and utilize, and something that, like I said, you need to have within your toolbox, man. I was gonna say it's just like that. But yes, life is amazing and it's only getting better. Have that mindset. You're gonna be in a good position, man. I would say as well to believe in yourself and believe you're him, even if you don't have it all, you will get it all. Exactly, right? And it's having one thing I want to say about that specific quote that KJ just had said right now is you're having faith, right? The reason why people don't believe in the thing that I just had said with life being amazing is because they truly do not have any faith. And within this life, if you live a faithless life, you're not living a life worth even living, in my opinion, right? You need to have faith. You need to have faith in the higher power. You need to have faith within yourself. You need to have faith within your loved ones, within your friends. You need to be able to have faith. And even here's the thing: a lot of things are still not going to work out in your favor, and that's just life. Really, there's nothing you can really do about it. You only can control what you can control, and you obviously need to leave the rest up to fate, right? But nonetheless, having faith, having faith is going to put you in a good position, right? Being optimistic is going to put you in a good position. There's nothing positive really about being pessimistic. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. And one thing I want to say with that as well is you can just tell the difference within a person, whether they're a pessimistic or optimistic person, just by one conversation, right? Right? Just by meeting them, you could just immediately tell if they're a pessimist or if they're an optimist, right? And you want to surround yourself with people who are optimistic, right? The pessimistic people, of course, they're gonna inevitably be around. And one thing I'll say with those certain type of people, especially some of the people that I have interacted with in real life, is I know I don't want to be around those people personally. I don't. There's a thing about being real and being somewhat of a realist, and there's just a whole other thing with being pessimistic. But nonetheless, surround yourself with people who are optimistic, especially with this life, who love life, who think life is amazing and it's only getting better. Because if you don't, it's is it even worth surrounding yourself with people if you have no other choice but to surround yourself with people who are pessimistic, who don't believe that life is amazing, who don't believe that life can get better, right? I would say you go ahead and analyze what you want to go ahead and analyze, but quite frankly, I'm trying to keep the highest frequency around me within the people that I surround myself with. And with that being said, hopefully you agree with that. If you don't, good luck, man. This life's gonna be an interesting one. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get into the next one right now. Just give me 1 second. I knew something was off, but I appreciate GDP. Appreciate it being in the Twitch chat as well. All right, getting into the next one. And like I said, if there's anything that you have to say about any of the ones that I have mentioned previously, make sure you go and leave in the comments for sure. Like I said, whether you're watching this or watching this live, let me know for sure. Getting into the next one, this is going to be any and every reason for which you think you can't do it just means that you need to do that much. You need to do that much more. Life could be much more incredible if you were to do those certain things, right? There's going to be certain limitations that you believe that you have in some periods of your life, quite frankly, right? I'm the person who doesn't believe in limitations. That's just the way that I see life, right? The people that I surround myself with don't see limitations. Um, but with that being said, there's going to be a lot of reasons that you can, especially with something that you're going ahead and pursuing, right? There's going to be a lot of reasons that you can give yourself to try to convince yourself of not doing this certain thing, right? And with that being said, the more reasons you can give for not, especially if it's something that you know is going to transform your life, right? The more reasons you can give yourself to not want to do that, even though you know damn well it's the best thing for you to go ahead and do, just means you need to do that much more. You need to do it that much more because maybe here's the thing, maybe the odds aren't exactly in your favor, right? But it doesn't mean that you don't need to do that. It means, at least to me personally, right? If the odds aren't high, it means I need to do it that much more. Especially with creating this podcast, this is going to be one of the things that I think that was one of those things that I analyzed. Obviously, I don't have the best of odds when it comes to trying to be a successful podcast, but nonetheless, doesn't mean I'm not going to try. I put in a lot more work than most people, especially some successful podcasts, and that just is what it is, right? You're either going to bet on yourself or you're not going to bet on yourself, right? And like I had mentioned, there's going to be a certain things that will suggest that you shouldn't do this certain thing, even if you do believe it's going to be the best move possible for you. But with all that noise, it's nothing but just noise, right? It's nothing but just noise, and you can block out the noise and choose to do what you know you need to go ahead and do. And like I said, life would be that much more amazing or incredible if you went ahead and did that. And like I said, no matter what the adversity looks like, it can be done. If somebody's done it, it can be done. So I don't think you can't do it. You see what I'm saying? And like I said, there's gonna be plenty of inputs. There's gonna be plenty of people who tell you can't do something or you can't achieve something. And just observe it, recognize it, and say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyways because quite frankly, it's what I want to do. It's what I believe to be the best decision for my life. And life's going to be that much better because I went ahead and did that, even though the odds weren't exactly in my favor, right? If you have that mindset, especially with something that you're trying to go ahead and approach, like a business plan or like a certain career decision that you're going to make for your life, right? If you can approach it with that point of view, saying, even if the odds aren't in my favor, I'm still going to bet on myself. I'm still going to trust the process, and regardless of when anyone's telling me, I'm still going to do what I know I need to do, right? You're going to be in a much better position. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Exactly, champ. The gym is a reality check because it pushes you to push past your limits. I used to be able to be afraid of big weights. Now I can squat 315. Yeah, yep, you're exactly right, KJ. You're exactly right, my man. Um, it's like I said, those are gonna be certain moments where you could like look. Let's just use that for an example. That's a great example, right? With the thing that I had mentioned, right? For any and every reason for which you think you can't do it or you shouldn't do it, like let's just say, for example, right? When people have this fresh paradigm of saying, you know what, I want to go to the gym, right? Then they observe or go to the gym, they recognize how much hard work it truly is, right? They recognize that very, very early on there's going to be moments of you being uncomfortable, right? So they give themselves rationalities, they give themselves way outs, cop outs about not wanting to go ahead and do it, right? Just because you give yourself those limiting beliefs, or let's just say maybe you're not even around people that truly are trying to encourage you to go to the gym, right? That's going to make it that much harder to go in. But that just means you need to do it that much more because, quite frankly, things aren't exactly working within your favor, right? Or maybe making you feel the best. But nonetheless, you still need to go ahead and do that because that's what you need to go ahead and do. That's what's going to better your life. And there's a lot of people who the reason why I wanted to mention this is because there's a lot of people who do live life and who do run into these uncomfortable moments, these barriers of resistance, and they just stay on the other side saying, you know what, it's too hard, man. People are telling me no, that I can't do it. You know what, this. this doesn't look, maybe I'll be really, really tired from doing it. I just maybe I could put my time into something else, right? They give themselves all these like I said, these rationalities that aren't exactly conclusive. They aren't exactly conducive to the life that they want to go ahead and live, but they'll try to convince themselves out of the best decision for their life. And with that being said, like I said, the more rationalities you give yourself, the more of a reason you should actually go ahead and do that. Because once you go ahead and accomplish that, you could talk to the people who truly have those same type of mind adversities. I'll say that these obstacles that only exist within the mind. You can help people get over those certain things because you got over them yourself, right? That's going to make you that much more of an experienced person who's going to be knowing exactly what they're talking about, right? And with that being said, like I said, any reason for which you think you can't do it or you shouldn't do it just means you need to do it that much more, right? That's what it comes down to. KJ, I appreciate for the example, man, but yeah, that's what it comes down to. We're going to get into the next few topics that I have for the podcast. Like I said, if you guys have any questions or comments regarding anything that I'm mentioning for today's podcast, let me know in the comments for sure. Give me 1 second. So these next two are going to be the ones that I came up with for sure. And maybe I heard them somewhere, but quite frankly, maybe I heard of these things before I came up with this idea, but maybe I did, right? But nonetheless, this is going to be: you either create things for people or you watch people create things. And more importantly, create the world around you, right? That's an interesting paradigm. That's something that I've observed time and time again when it comes to being a person who creates content, who can literally shape the way people see reality, right? And it is that deep. It truly is that deep, right? Um, and the only reason I know it's that deep is because there's things that do exist on social media that truly have nothing to do with your life, yet you still make it feel somewhat relevant within your life, even though you'll never even be around that area. You're not even from that area. You'll never even go to that area, but nonetheless, you're making it a part of your day. And I think that's very, very interesting because, like I said, social media is literally shaping the way that you see reality, right? And with that being said, you can either be one of two people. You can be the people that go ahead and create stuff for other people to go ahead and consume, or create things, create a business, create a product, create something of value that other people consume, that other people can consume, or you're going to be a person who watches everyone else around you create something, right? And for me personally, I don't exactly love that. I don't exactly love that for myself when it comes to when I'm being more of a consumer than I am a creator, right? Like I said, I understand that there's going to be plenty of things that people consume that aren't exactly worth consuming. So therefore, I feel like I personally need to combat that by creating something of value for people, right? And you watching this right now, are you a person who's creating something for people to go ahead and consume that could potentially help them? Or are you a person who's just watching everyone else and the world around you become created by people who, maybe don't exactly have the best interest in mind for the people that they're giving the advice to or giving the content to, right? Ask yourself that question. Like I said, that is going to be one of the most profound things that I had thought about in recent time, because not everybody does or posts content, but nonetheless, I do believe that you're either creating content or you're consuming content. There's really no other way around it. You're doing something with content anyways. So if you're gonna consume content, you might as well create some. That's the way that I personally see it. Hey man, I've been trying to better myself recently, but I can't stop. I can tell it's making a difference in my daily life and affecting my mental health. Any advice? Yes, I do have advice for that, Stephen. Um, I'm a person who's got over it and who's been over it for the last 2 years. I have podcasts about this specific topic, but to give you a short synopsis of that advice that I had talked about within those podcasts, I'll say the first there's two things that you need to analyze. Number one, you need to analyze the identity that you have right now. Quite frankly, the identity that you have right now is not exactly the identity that you want to uphold. Therefore, your actions are aligning to that, right? You don't want to uphold it, and your actions suggest that you don't want to uphold it. So therefore, number one, it's an identity thing for sure. It's an identity thing for sure. And two, the second one is going to be it's going to be something that you're making a little too easy, or it's seeming a little too easy for you. So what I mean by that is maybe you're not putting enough resistance within your environment. So therefore, let's just say, for example, who do you follow on Instagram, right? What content do you go ahead and consume? If it's content that's going to be somewhat sexualized, it's probably not going to be within your best interest to go ahead and consume that type of content, right? And the less content that you consume, the less you'll think about it. And the less you think about it, the less you'll act on it, right? And I feel like that's what it's going to ultimately come down to. Um, yeah, KJ, if you're a person that needs to do that, go ahead and do that but like I said, whatever works for you personally. That's not something that I had done for my own self because I didn't see it necessary. He said, don't use your phone that much and turn on blockers because the access is only online. Yeah, exactly. But my two things, like I had mentioned, right? These two things are going to be the fundamental problem, root to the problem that you do have, right? Number one, the inputs are too easily accessible. Like KJ had mentioned, maybe put some blockers on if you need to go ahead and do that. But nonetheless, the content that you go to consume that's not that, it should be a little bit more PG. Let's just say that, right? And then also, like I said, your identity that you have, the identity that you're upholding, isn't exactly the identity that you want. So therefore, you need to make sure you go ahead and aligning to that identity that you want to go ahead and uphold. That's going to be my advice. I can give you I can give you more advice, but I would just recommend just tapping into another one of the podcasts that I've done. I talked about one. What was it? It was talking about desire and temptation. Watch that podcast. It would be a great podcast for you if you're still watching. But nonetheless, I'm gonna get back to the topic. Like I said, create or watch everyone create the world around you. Those are your two options. You decide what you want to go ahead and do. But just know that you can have somewhat of an impact within this world if you do believe that you actually can, right? I believe that I personally can have an impact, a positive impact within this life. And with that being said, I'm going ahead and acting as if I potentially could do that. That's why I'm making this type of content, right? And I personally was just sick and tired of seeing certain content that does exist, and like I said, I was seeing it, I was consuming it, and I wasn't exactly satisfied with what I was consuming. So therefore, I need to go ahead and make something for myself. I need to make a decision for myself. I need to make a decision that was going to be best, um, more thoughtful when it comes to just people in general. So therefore, that's why I'm making the content that I'm making. But nonetheless, like I said, you have two options. At the end of the day, you need to decide which one's going to be best for your life and best for the people around you, right? So either create content or watch the world be created. Or you don't have to create content, you can just create something of value, right? Create or watch everyone create something, right? I'm much more interested in being a creator as opposed to a person who watches people create things because it's just more fun that way. Thoughts on stoicism? That's a good question. Thoughts on stoicism? It's going to be an absolute necessity for a man to go ahead and practice. You're as a man, you should be the rock, right? You shouldn't be something that you can be easily influenced by an emotional wave. Is definitely going to be something that I would recommend for most men to go ahead and tap into because it is just going to be one of those fundamental things of masculinity. Um, that's going to allow you to get further than most people, right? Most people, they act on their emotions and therefore they get put in the position that they're in because of that reason. If you're a man, like I had mentioned, you need to be the rock. You need to be a person who, regardless of the situation, you're going to need to analyze it from more of a logical point of view. And the best way that you possibly can do that is if you're stoic, if you're not swayed by emotions. And of course, I say that I say that, and of course, there's going to be still people who are swayed by their emotions, and that's just being human. But at the end of the day, I feel like stoicism is going to stem from removing the emotion from an action or removing the emotion from an outcome, and then just analyzing it for what it actually is, and then moving forward with that. But yeah, that's gonna be my thoughts on stoicism. It's definitely something that is absolute, absolutely paramount when it comes to being a man and developing that masculinity for yourself, for sure. But like I said, if you have any questions, keep them coming in the comments. I appreciate everyone stopping by. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Like I said, I'm gonna get back into it, but like I said, if you have any questions regarding anything, let me know in the comments. Getting into the next one, this is gonna be the fifth mindset that I'm gonna go ahead and recommend for you to go ahead and have. And this is gonna be more of a thought that you need to go ahead and contemplate for yourself and apply the way that you see fit within your own life. But this is going to be acquiring and exchanging knowledge is one of the most powerful currencies that does exist. This form of value that I'm exchanging right now with the people watching is going to be one of the most powerful currencies that does exist because it's something that there's something that I can say, there's something that you can watch someone say, you can hear someone say, right? That can literally change the way that you live the rest of your life, right? The decisions, it can literally alter the decisions that you make for the rest of your life. And I do believe that knowledge, and especially acquiring and exchanging knowledge, is going to be one of the most powerful things that you possibly can do. When you choose to watch a certain creator, right, and you consume it consciously because you want to do that, that is a powerful thing because that can literally shape the way that you actually see reality, right? Acquiring and also, that's just that you acquiring that knowledge, um, but you also giving out knowledge to people, especially people in need, right? This is why I had the podcast in the first place, because there's going to be there's certain knowledge on certain topics that people definitely need, and they're definitely looking for. And I do believe that that's going to be a form of value that needs to be put out, right? People need to make things that are going to help people out, right? And if you're not doing this, you're not you're not exactly serving people. You're not serving the people. You're not being a person that's you're not being a person that's selfless, right? Selfless is going to be one of those things that you need to go ahead and be as a person if you want to be the most likable person that you possibly can be, right? And I'm not saying that you should strive to be likable, but I'm saying you should strive to be a person that people like, right? And with that being said, one of the ways of doing it is by helping people out, and that is what I believe when it comes to acquiring and exchanging knowledge being one of the most powerful currencies. That's exactly what I mean by that, for sure. So like I said, if you have any questions or comments regarding any of the mindsets or thoughts that I had for today's topic, definitely leave it in the comments. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and also leave a like on the video if you did go ahead and enjoy this. Good topic. I can't really read that. I'm sorry. Hold up. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. Good topic. Need to. We'll see where you. Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. Oscar. You need to project where you want to be. You're exactly right. There's really no other way around it. Because if not, then you're kind of moving around a little bit mindless. You're basically just wandering at this point, right? You're not exactly a person that's being conscious with the journey that they're going ahead and living out. But I'm going to reiterate all the mindsets that I have for today's podcast. Like I said, if you guys have any questions regarding literally anything, or a question regarding the topic that I haven't mentioned, definitely leave them in the comments for sure. So the first mindset that I'm going to go ahead and recommend for you to go ahead and adopt, or thought for you to go ahead and contemplate for yourself, this is going to be, what do you do? 3 parts, right? What do you do? What do you want to do? And who are you doing it for, right? Analyze and be clear with all 3 of these answers, and you're going to be in a much better position than most people within this life, because quite frankly, they don't have these things defined, right? So what do you want? What do? You analyze where you are in the position that you're in right now. What do you want to do? You analyze the things that you're not doing right now, that your life could be much better if you went ahead and did these certain things. And who are you going to do it for? Ask yourself that question. I'm going to do it for my mother. I'm going to do it for my father. I'm going to do it for my friends, my family, the future wife that I will have, the future kids that I will have, the future community that I'm building, right? Who are you doing it for, right? The more clear you can become with that, the more easily you're going to be able to overcome obstacles that come within your path, especially when it comes to your purpose and things like that, right? You're going to need those moments of a reminder to go ahead and get past those moments. So, who are you doing it for right now? Let's just say you don't want to do the work that you need to do. Be more specific. Change your focus, right? Who are you going to do this for? Do you want to let this person down? If you don't want to let this person down, you must do what you need to go ahead and do, right? Sometimes you're and I've said this before on a podcast before, sometimes you're truly not enough as motivation, as discipline. You're not enough. So therefore, you must reinstill certain things that are going to give you that motivation, that are going to give you that self-discipline, that are going to allow you to tap in to something that's going to give you that's going to give you some type of motion to go ahead and move forward with, right? So who are you doing it for, right? Like I said, if you're a person that's getting distracted or procrastinating a certain task, right? Who are you going to do it for? Be like, I'm gonna do it for my best friend. I'm gonna do it for him because I want to show him a life that he hasn't exactly seen so far. So therefore, that'll be the reason why, right? Like I had mentioned before earlier in the podcast, the way that I go and implement it is this: I create a daily schedule or weekly schedule for the way I want my week to go, right? If there's a certain task that I know is going to come with a little bit of resistance, or I'm going to be less likely to go ahead and do it, I make sure I give myself a reason for wanting to do that, right? Put a name. I would. This is what I do, right? I put a name right next to it, saying, "Do it for blank. Do it for this person. This person's going to appreciate you doing this in the grand scheme of life." Appreciate it. I appreciate it, GDP. I appreciate it. Getting into it, right? Next mindset. This is going to be: life is amazing and it's only getting better. Within this life, you must be an optimist, right? You must stay away from people and avoid yourself from being a pessimist, right? If you could surround yourself with people who have a closer mindset to what I'm about to say, which was life is amazing and it's only getting better, the better your life's going to be for sure, right? With that being said, this is something that I've adopted and something that I've kept around and something that I try to reinstill every now and then, because I do believe it's going to be one of those super positive points of view that not a lot of people talk about truly, right? If somebody asks you, "Hey, how are you doing?" Life is amazing and it's only getting better. You're reaffirming that for yourself. You're only solidifying that reality that you're living within, right? By giving yourself an understanding that life's going to have amazing moments. Life is amazing in general because, quite frankly, the human experience is something that's worth living, in my opinion. And you watching this, you probably would agree with me. And with that being said, even though there's going to be plenty of moments that are going to be less than satisfactory within your life, you're going to have those moments. Hopefully, if you do build them for yourself, you're going to have these moments within your life that'll eventually come up that are going to be amazing, right? And like I said, it's only getting better. Not only is it amazing right now, not only am I enjoying and being grateful for what I have right now, life is only going to get better from here on out. That's what it is. Like I said, having that optimistic point of view is going to put you in a good position. And at the very least, like I said, even if it's not exactly a mindset to go ahead and have, it should at least be a way of life that you go ahead and instill within your paradigm of life. That's what I would say. Getting into the next one, this is going to be any and every reason for which you think that you can't do it or don't want to do it just means you need to do that much more, right? This mindset that you go ahead and have is going to apply differently for every single person, right? There's going to be certain things that are going to give you this barrier of resistance to go ahead and do it, right? So there's going to be certain maybe it's a person's opinion that's not exactly in line with what you want to go ahead and do, right? Or in line with the thing that you had set out to go ahead and do for yourself, right? Maybe it's the doubters, maybe it's the haters, um, maybe it's your own mind. Maybe your own mind is your own enemy, right? And I feel like a lot of people can resonate with that for sure, unfortunately. But let's just say in the example that I used earlier, right? Let's just say you don't want to go to the gym, right? But you know it's the best move for you on the chessboard. Out of anything that you go ahead and do, that's going to be the best move for you, right? But you kind of give yourself these rationalities saying, you know what, it's gonna be really really hard. I don't want to get sweaty. I have work after. I don't really want to do these things. The more the more reasons you give yourself for not wanting to go ahead and do it, that is going to be more of the reason why you should do it. Because like I said, at the end of the day, you're going to be able to analyze this and say, you know what, maybe I wasn't in the mood to go ahead and do it, but now that I've done it, I feel much better for doing it, right? And that's going to be broader than the example that I went ahead and used, right? This is going to go for any and every decision that you go ahead and make within this life. Maybe you're a little iffy on trying to start this business. Maybe you're a little iffy on uptaking or upholding this certain habit, right? But just realize that that just means that much more that you need to go ahead and do it, because not only is it going to, test your discipline, it's also going to test your character overall to see if you can go ahead and do what you know you need to go ahead and do, regardless of the way that you feel, right? And yeah, that's pretty much what it is right there for sure. And then getting into it, like I said, I'm going to give you these last two point of views, these last two mindsets that I want you to go ahead and adopt. Like I said, if you're in the comments, definitely let me know right now. If you're watching live, let me know for sure. Um, but yeah, getting to the last two, create or watch everyone create the world around you. Right? You have two ways of being within this life, right? And most people obviously are people who are nothing more than just people who watch the people create the world that they live in, right? Now, with that being said, you have the option to create reality. You have this option. You have this ability to do this, right? Because, and the only reason I know that is because there's people that are doing it right now. There's certain things that you believe because a certain person made a certain piece of content, right? That's just what it is. But now, with understanding that you could potentially shape reality, right? You want to go ahead and understand that there's going to be a lot of content, there's going to be a lot of things of value that exist within the world that aren't exactly conducive to living the best life possible. And with that being said, you must be able to create something of value. I'm not saying creating content, right? That's going to be the example that I think most people will resonate with, but maybe it's creating a certain product, maybe it's creating a certain I don't know. I don't know what specifically you can create, but obviously there's a lot of things you can't create. But nonetheless, either create something, which I would recommend for every person watching this to create something, even if it's a painting or something like that. Just create something. Be a creator instead of watching people create things, because watching people create things, it's fun, it's time consuming, But nonetheless, there's going to be something better that you can go ahead and do with your life. It's 11 p.m. or it's 11 p.m. I have therapy tomorrow, so I have to dip, but I really enjoyed listening and will definitely subscribe. I appreciate you, my man. You have a good rest of your night. And like I said, next podcast is going to be on Tuesday. Tap in with that for sure, my man. But yeah, have a good rest of your night and have a good session of therapy. All right, getting into the last point that I'll go ahead and make for today's podcast. Acquiring and exchanging knowledge is one of the most powerful currencies that exists, right? This is going to be something that I've mentioned and something that I will keep mentioning because I do believe it is going to be one of the most valuable things you can get from somebody, right? And the way that I personally have viewed this within my own life, and this is going to be some type of form of knowledge, I'd say, to an extent, just being able to feel inspired by somebody and the words that they're saying, the encouragement that they're giving people. That's going to be one of the most powerful things you can possibly have, and that's kind of, in a way, acquiring and exchanging knowledge to an extent, right? With that being said, if the most that a person could do for you is to give you something that can completely change the way that you see the world right now, and then not only the way that you see the world right now, but also the way in which you could see the world in the future, right? So that's why I mentioned this last mindset, this last thought that I have for you to go ahead and contemplate for yourself is understanding that acquiring and exchanging knowledge is one of the most powerful currencies that does exist, right? That's pretty much what I have to say for today's podcast. I appreciate everyone stopping by. Like I said, make sure to leave a comment if you're in the chat, whether you're watching this or watching this live. Let me know. Other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this one off here in a minute. So yeah, I'll leave you guys off a few more minutes. Like I said, any questions, anything last minute, let me know in the comments. All right. Yes, sir. GDP. Appreciate for being a good mod, man. Appreciate for being a good mod. All right. Yeah, so basically, this was episode 155 of the Life of a Champ podcast, discussing the 5 mindsets, the 5 thoughts that you should go ahead and analyze within your own life. So that was today's episode. I appreciate everyone for stopping by, like I had mentioned. I'll leave you guys off with the podcast motto. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure you outwork these motherfuckers because you know that I am. Come on now, you already know what time it is, fellas. Work's going to look different for every single person, but nonetheless, make sure you're putting it in because, like I said, you know that I'm putting it in. So you have no other choice but to do it with me, man. No other choice, man. But other than that, you guys have a good rest of your night. Like I said, stay tuned in for the podcast that's going to be on Tuesday of next week. I'll be having some more guests on here soon, so definitely tap in and look out for that for sure. If there's a specific topic that you want me to go ahead and cover, make sure to go and leave it in the comments for sure. I check and respond to all comments that are going to be on my videos, so feel free to leave a comment. Other than that, do I have anything else I want to say? I'll be doing a music live stream next week for sure. So definitely tap in with that for sure. If you like music and you want to see a different side of me, that is going to be your best bet for sure. But other than that, you guys have a good rest of your night. Stay tuned in for the podcast on Tuesday. And like I mentioned, man, you better be out working these motherfuckers, man. Come on now. GDP, you're exactly right, man. You're exactly right. Y'all have a good night, man. And like I said, tap in Tuesday, man.